when I think too, like a lot of times people confuse passion with purpose.
Okay.
Like you're passionate about something. So you're like, hey, this must be my purpose because I'm passionate about it. And I think that there are things that are put inside you to and I think passion is one of those things. Like I was
Sure.
passionate about music, and so I pursued that, thinking that that's my purpose. There might
Yep.
be someone who's passionate about fixing cars, and so they want to have a car shop, detail shop, or whatever. They want to be a mechanic. But then once you start the work, you're like, okay, like you're good at it. You have a talent for it also. Like you're passionate
Right.
about it. You have a talent. But you can be talented at something, but it's not your purpose. You can have a passion for something, but it's not your purpose.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stephenson, the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Audacious Learning Podcast, where our goal is to empower you to live your best audacious life ever. I'm totally thrilled to have you here with us today. I want to take a moment to express my gratitude to all our listeners for spending a little bit of their day with us. Together, we'll explore the transformative journeys that inspire personal growth, self-discovery, and the pursuit of purpose. Now, imagine trying to read a book while standing in the middle of a bustling street with cars honking and people chatting all around you. It's nearly impossible to focus on the words when distractions are pulling our attention in every possible direction. In the same way, our lives can become cluttered with distractions that prevent us from diving deep into self-discovery. Just like finding a quiet corner to read, we must eliminate distractions to truly connect with ourselves and uncover our true potential. Today, we'll discuss the 5 forces of balance in life. That's family, professional health, spiritual, and personal well-being. These elements are crucial for achieving harmony in our lives, and they play a significant role in our overall happiness and fulfillment. Joining us is the remarkable guest, Jeremy Haselwood. He's a small business owner, marketing consultant, and author of a very insightful book called Finding Your Edge. Jeremy's work focuses on personal development and life transformation, making him a perfect fit for our conversation today. His journey from aspiring musician to a self-discovery advocate illustrates the importance of unlocking one's potential and finding true purpose. Jeremy Haselwood is a dynamic entrepreneur with a wealth of experience in marketing and personal development. Originally from Oklahoma, he moved to Atlanta to pursue a music career before realizing that his true calling lay in helping others navigate their paths to fulfillment. His book, Finding Your Edge, serves as a practical guide for anyone looking to eliminate distractions and discover the unique talents and passions. His insights are on the importance of eliminating distractions resonate deeply with our theme of self-discovery. His personal experiences and tools he provides in his book can guide listeners towards achieving that balance and fulfillment that we're all looking for in life. So now that we've got you all set, let's jump into our conversation with Jeremy. Enjoy. Hey, Jeremy, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate you taking the time to be here. So thank you.
No, you're welcome, and thanks for having me on. Looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, no, it's great to again the opportunity to engage in conversations that can help individuals improve or better their life is actually exhilarating for me in that sense, and because it just you can just the idea that through our conversation today someone might take something, hear something, and make a shift in their own world is just phenomenal. We're just talking, so.
Yeah.
That's what excites me. One of the things that we encourage on this, through the podcast is really just, taking that step and living that life that you're meant to. Some will call it find your potential, or live your best life, or but the theme is very much in line with encouraging people to move basically from point A to point B. And
awesome.
And as much as we say, I make it sound so just move. For a lot of people, it's not that easy, right? A lot of people, they got some real serious challenges and don't know how to do that, or afraid to do that, or can't do that. And so, maybe as a starting point, because I know you help individuals do just that. So maybe as a starting point, I could ask you to introduce yourself to our audience and tell them the work you do and what brought you to the point that you're at now.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm Jeremy Haselwood. Many slashes. I'm a small business owner, marketing consultant, and author. And my most recent book is about personal development and life transformation, which is really why I'm happy to be here to talk to you and your audience today. And it's a lot of like what you just said. It's really like how to get from point A to point B.
Hmm.
And, as I was writing my book, it took me about 10 years to do it. And I know we'll get more into maybe some of the stories and all that. But I really created that because I was going through my own journey in life where I thought my plan was this, but it turned out not to be. So how do I redefine my life, rediscover myself, and how do I live a life with purpose and intent? And so I, through that journey, created some tools and wrote a book about the journey that inspired and helped me out. And I'm like, it helped me get to where I am. It made me get to point B. So those of
Yeah.
you that are on point A right now, my
Hmm.
book is called Finding Your Edge, How to Unlock Your Talent and Purpose. So it really is like that journey from getting to from point A to point B.
So I'm intrigued, Jeremy. You got to tell me about your story and how you did that.
Yeah. Well, so I'm from Oklahoma originally. I live in the Atlanta area now. And when I was a teenager, had this dream, like I'm gonna, like many teenagers, like, hey, I'm gonna get into music. I'm gonna be a music superstar, see the world, make money, have the world singing songs and inspiring and doing all that. So I moved to Atlanta when I was 20 years old and came out here actually with a friend of mine that was in the group with me. And like we performed everywhere in Atlanta. Like we had like a nice little independent run, and the group, we were a rap group. And so rap group from Oklahoma, which is like, we already got a lot working against us on many levels, but we're like, hey, we're going to pursue this. And actually, man, we had a really great experience just with Atlanta, like learning about ourselves, how to connect with an audience,
Yep.
perform. Like we always got a great response when we performed, and I guess kind of the pinnacle of it, some of the accomplishments. Like we ended up performing at Showtime at the Apollo in Harlem on national TV. Got booed off the stage on national TV, which is part of my story, and it's all good. It made me who I am. But at the same time, being from Oklahoma, we made a song about the Oklahoma football team back in the day, and it actually got like spins across the whole state, and it was enough
Yeah.
between the whole state to put us at like number 98 on the top 100 pop
Okay.
radio charts. So I'm
Okay.
like, all right, that's cool. But then it's like towards the end of my 20s, I'm like, this feels more like a job that I hate because, you start to get more into like the industry, whether it's
Yes.
sports or
Yes.
entertainment. And really, sports and entertainment are so closely mixed because
Yes.
really, honestly, sports is entertainment. But you learn really the ugly part of the business. And it's the part you just want to create and make music. And you
Sure.
see the politics and just the backstabbing and crabs in the bucket mentality, and I'm like, this just doesn't sit right with my soul. So yeah, I want to
Hmm.
still create and impact people, but I don't really know what I want to do anymore. And
Right.
went a few years through that journey trying to just figure out what do I do now that I've walked away from music. So all that ended up me went back to school, finished, got my master's degree, and did a lot of work on myself and really tapped into who am I? Like, what are my talents outside of music? And I think even for your listeners now, there might be things that you do now and you think those are your talents, but it's really kind of like, what's the infrastructure for that talent that you have? So, yes, I could make
Right.
music, I could produce, I could mix, but really, the real skill was like orchestrating all these different pieces. So it was having the ability to see this vision and pull in the right pieces to it and manage those pieces where you have a tangible product and knowing how to connect with an audience, like giving
Yep.
something for them and making sure that they're getting satisfaction about it. And it's the same thing that I do now with marketing. But so wrote about my journey, and it's the book that helped me. And, I know it can help some of your listeners.
Yeah, no, I definitely can. I just like the idea of getting that point, and there's this like this lack of satisfaction. Like something's
Yeah.
not, it doesn't feel right, it's not
Hmm.
working for you, and there's and,
Yeah.
and there's a need to make that shift or make that change, and
Yeah.
sometimes we got to get to that place, right, where
Hmm.
it's like, you know what, I'm fed up, I'm tired, I'm done. Let's move on, kind of thing, and figure out what the next step is. And so, which is,
Yeah.
and it's not a bad thing, right? To be able to maybe a little
Oh,
nudge as opposed to us
yeah.
going after ourselves.
Right. Right. Well, I think too, like a lot of times people confuse passion with purpose.
Okay.
Like you're passionate about something. So you're like, hey, this must be my purpose because I'm passionate about it. And I think that there are things that are put inside you to And I think passion is one of those things. Like I was
Sure.
passionate about music, and so I pursued that, thinking that that's my purpose. There might
Yep.
be someone who's passionate about fixing cars, and so they want to have a car shop, detail shop, or whatever. They want to be a mechanic. But then once you start the work, you're like, okay, like you're good at it. You have a talent for it also. Like you're passionate
Right.
about it. You have a talent. But you can be talented at something, but it's not your purpose. You can have a passion for something, but it's not your purpose.
Mm,
And what I like to think is that you can, not saying that you will, but I do think that there's something to like your purpose being at the intersection of your talents and your passions. So if
yeah.
you are talented with your hands, you're passionate about fixing cars, then perhaps your purpose is to be a mechanic, or maybe your purpose is to be a carpenter or a builder or something like that. Um, but if you're not doing the work on yourself and really understanding what your talents are and taking an inventory of your talents, or really what is that passion inside of you? What are the things that
Yep.
stir you? Like quick example of the difference. Like I'm passionate about college football, but it's not my purpose. For one, I'm too old to play, and two, I'm not talented to play, but I'm passionate about it. I love it. But that's just kind of a difference in how we can diffuse the difference between what is what.
And would you say that's sort of a key sort of starting point when we talk about unlocking our potential?
I think so. I mean,
Yeah.
because you probably know people and maybe even yourself, because me at times, especially I gave you a little background of my history, but there's some people like, hey, I'm passionate about traveling. So they think they're supposed to be a travel blogger, and maybe they are, but not necessarily. Maybe there's a reason that travel bug is there. And I think when you have these passions, like let's explore those and see what doors those open for you. So what I like to say is I followed my passion and I found my purpose. And I think that can be the case for a lot of people.
Love it. I love it. And I think it's an important thing to be able to do. And when you get there, it's funny because when you get there, you're like, of course, this is what it is, right?
Yeah.
I oftentimes say that um uh, uh, one of the few times I'll say, so the viewpoints or the opinions of people is what matters. Sometimes you go, what people think it doesn't matter, do your own thing.
Hmm.
But there are times when listening to others is very important.
Yeah.
They have an outside view vantage point that you don't have of yourself. So they
Yes.
can see you in certain things that you may not necessarily see. And so that other thing that you might want to pay attention to is what
Hmm.
are people telling you that you do
Yeah.
well? What are people telling you're good at? What is that
Hmm.
people are saying, hey, one day you should do this? Like, because that
Yeah.
they're saying that with purpose. There's a reason.
Yeah, no, and that exactly. And I cover something similar in the book because when people are doing like self-discovery work, it's like, where do I start? And there's a
Yep,
lot of
yep,
places that you can start, but it can be overwhelming when you're starting this kind of work. But one of them is like, man, just check in with the people around you that really know you, like whether it's your family or close friends. But also have enough sense and enough filter for one to be able to let the good things in and not the bad. And what I mean by that though is not don't let the you can still let the negative criticism in because there is might be some truth there.
sure.
But to your point, it's like ask people around you because they're going to tell you a view that you don't see because you have blind spots because you're in
That's
your
right.
own skin and you don't always see it.
That's
But you
right.
can say, what am I good at? What do you think I'm good at? And people will say what you're good at. And it may be things like, wow, I'd never really noticed that because it's always been within you. Maybe you have this talent, but you take it for granted because you've always had it your whole life. So you assume everybody else has it too because it's just you wake up
Yeah,
and
that's
you
right.
have this
Yeah,
gift, you
yeah.
know?
And it's so
But
easy to
then
take for granted, isn't it?
it
Right? It's
really
so
is.
easy.
Yes, it is. I mean, just like any of your senses, it's like you take for granted that you can actually, smell things and taste things and touch things because you always have. But then it's also like, what are some things that you think I could be better at or that maybe I'm not
Mm,
good at, but be vulnerable enough to accept those answers. And it takes a really good friend or someone close to you to also be honest with you about it because some people may not want to tell you because they think it'll hurt your feelings.
yep,
But
that's right.
hey
That's
man,
right.
is a place to start. That is one excellent piece. Like just asking the people around you and hopefully they'll be real with you.
Sure, sure. Absolutely, absolutely. I think the idea, and as simple as it may sound, the idea of
Mhm.
being open-minded and
Yeah.
open to new possibilities or things that you've never thought of or encountered
Hmm.
before. And
Hmm.
I think that can help with this sort of, I'm going to call this exploration stages, trying to figure yourself out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like I feel like our purpose, like all of it's hiding in plain sight. It's all inside
Mm,
of all of us. But if you don't know what questions to ask, or if you don't take a pause in a moment just to take inventory of yourself, you have a harder time discovering it. And I think about like you remember like the Where's Waldo books where it's like
yeah, for
these
sure.
books and there's
Yeah.
all these people and things and you're like, Waldo's on this page somewhere. And sometimes you can find them quick and sometimes you're like, look, I've spent 30 minutes on this page
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I do not see this dude with the white and yellow sweater. Like he's not here, but he is. And I think
Yeah.
it can be similar to that with the purpose. Like you really have to sometimes dig in. Like it's there, like that
Yeah.
Waldo
Yeah.
or whatever is
Yep.
there.
Yep.
You just have to find, and sometimes it takes additional tools. It might be the person that you know. It might be counseling. It might be a coach. It might be different
Sure.
assessments that you can take. But doing like if you're really trying to get from point A to B, you can't do that by not doing anything. Like you have to put
Yeah.
some kind of action towards it.
This, yeah, man, that the significance of taking that first step is huge. Like I don't
Man,
think people realize by taking that first step, you're automatically going to take that second, and now all of a sudden you've taken a first step, that second step, that third step. Now you're starting to create momentum, and that's
yeah.
what keeps you going. Like you can be motivated to do whatever, what to sustain that motivation is hard. So you want
Yeah.
to find ways to create momentum in your life because then
Hmm.
that will you're not necessarily thinking, you're just
Yeah.
doing and you're just being. I have
Yeah.
the image of a snowball going down that hill, and as it's
Hmm.
going, it's getting bigger and bigger and more powerful, and that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah. And I think people struggle with like, what do I do first though? It's like, yeah, we're saying all this and what we're saying makes sense. And we're talking some real talk here. But
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
also not, it's like people like, okay, that sounds good, but what do I do? Like, how do
yeah.
I start? Because there's all these things like in the universe, like what is going to get me started?
Start
And
anywhere, right?
anywhere, yeah.
Like it,
But the what I say that, but you and me, like we get that. Start anywhere.
yeah.
My philosophy is, and this is kind of the framework of my book, is like start with eliminating distractions because my
Mm,
book is finding your edge. And edge is an acronym and it means eliminate distractions, discover yourself, generate goals, and enact discipline. And you kind of touched on all those when you were talking a moment ago. But it's like, and we talked about things that we can
let's
do
do
with
that.
talking
Eliminate.
to
Let's do that
people.
again. Eliminate
Yeah,
destruction,
eliminate
distractions.
distractions,
Yeah,
discover yourself,
yeah.
generate goals, and enact discipline. So that's edge.
Mm,
All right.
mm.
So think
Like
about
that.
an edge. An edge itself, because it's a play on words, finding your edge. It's an acronym, but it's also a play on words. Like
Yeah.
an edge is the end of one thing and it's the beginning of another. So
Hmm.
it's like it's the end of this life that you had where you were just chugging along, going through the motions, maybe lost, maybe complacent. And then the edge on the other side of that is like this life of passion, purpose, and joy. And the edge where we're at now is like this is the work that we're doing on ourselves, that self-discovery, the eliminating distractions, going through
Yep.
this whole model. And once we're on the other side of that, we've basically gone beyond the edge and we're living this different life. But
Nice.
you can't really do the discovery work if you haven't just paused those distractions around you or eliminated
Yeah.
those. Because when you start to do that discovery work, you're coming in distracted from the get go. So we
Yes,
need to
yes, yes.
get you
Yeah.
focused
Yeah.
on yourself and
Yeah.
your time and what you're putting your efforts towards. And once we got that, now let's get into discovering ourselves.
The focus piece is just really, I mean, I think when you talk about limited distractions, you are giving yourself a chance to be successful here. But if
Yeah.
you're always, if things are pulling you away or your attention is shifted or diverted, you can't put the necessary time and attention into yourself like you need to.
Yeah. Well, and you're prioritizing your life and your purpose, not you're not prioritizing your phone or prioritizing social media or reality TV or food. Like, yes, you need food to eat, but food
Yeah.
can be a distraction. You're not prioritizing maybe those friends or those toxic relationships that you're in. Like we all have friends and some of them are great and some of them like they can be a little bit of a downer and we need to support our friends when they're
Yeah.
going through stuff but sometimes you have to protect your time and your spirit as well And part of that is getting focused on what you want in your life and how you're going to put boundaries around that so that you can move forward.
Got you. Got you. Something you've talked about is the forces of balance, and there's five of them, from what I understand. I wonder if you could to elaborate.
Yeah, yeah. So the five forces of balance, and these are really areas of your life that when I looked at my life and the work that I was doing and how I was
Mhm.
trying to improve, these are areas where it was easy for me to categorize these and kind of pay attention to these. And that's like your family force, your professional force, which would be like your job, your health, your spiritual, and your personal. So five forces of balance are family, professional, health, spiritual, and personal. So
Gotcha.
family, it's like, hey, if you're married, what's the relationship like with your spouse or your children? If you're single, it's like, what's just kind of like your family life? What are those relationships like? Um, Professional, of course, like a job, or if you're not old enough, if you're a student, like professional, like that is your job. You're
Yep.
a student,
Yep.
your health, like how are you taking care of yourself? Because if you're not eating right, you're not working out, you're going to compromise your health, which is going to take away from you being able to be available to your family or
Yes.
holding you back
Yes.
from being able to work. And then your spiritual life, like to me, that is an important component. And I don't really preach whatever your spirituality is. Like I do think there is a creator. I have my religious beliefs, but I don't force that onto other people. But what I do know about people that I've interacted with for years is whether you believe in God or not, people usually believe in something, and there is some
Yes.
kind of groundedness and some spirituality. And I think that is very crucial to your overall being and finding that joy and purpose in your life. And then like that personal piece is like you can do all that, but you still got to take care of yourself. Like I
Yeah.
do like
Self
to travel,
care.
so I do want to
Yeah.
take that trip. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
even like my finances, I do need to save. I do need to make sure that I have some hobbies, and I love music still, so I want to listen to my music. So so all these different things are a balance, and I mean, there's probably many more like categories that can fit in, but I found that these are probably like
Hmm.
the most relevant and the most important ones in your life. And you can kind of
Gotcha.
measure these, like take inventory. And like this can
Yep.
be an exercise for your listener. If you're thinking about your family, like on a scale of 1 to 5, like 1 is like you're doing terrible in the family category, and 5 is like you're knocking it out of the park. Like how would
Right.
you rate yourself? And then rate yourself on your professional. Are you a workaholic where that prioritize over everything and you don't see your family, your relationships are failing as a result? You're probably at a
Right.
1. But if there's a good balance and you like your job, you have a good relationship with
Yes.
your coworkers,
Yes.
then you're probably at a 4 or 5. So you can go
Yeah.
through each of these, and then we set goals based on that. How do I get from a 3 to a 4, a 4 to
Yep.
a 5, a 1 from a 2? So we just run through it like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Why did it take you 10 years to write your book, Jeremy?
Now, that's a great question. I started the book, and I was writing on it consistently. And I actually ended up putting out another book after
Hmm.
I started this one. So even though it's the first book that I wrote, it's the second one I put out. But it took me so long because it was so personal to me. And it's like I
Mm.
wanted to get it right. Like I think about like, whether this is a good role model or not, or a good comparison or not. I think about like a producer like a Dr. Dre, who
Okay.
dude's just been sitting on albums, and it's like we always heard like Detox was coming out or whatever album. Years and years and years, but he's such a
Yeah.
perfectionist. Like he never put it out because it wasn't right. And
Got you.
that's just one example. Like I'm a big music head. That's
Yeah.
the school that I came up under. But whatever it is, like so in some instances, it's maybe perfection, but then also because this is what I consider my life's work, it was so
Sure.
important to me.
Sure.
I wanted to make sure I got it right. So after writing in it about 5 to 7 years, I set it down and said, I'm not ready to finish it. I haven't lived enough life. Like there's more that I
Mm.
need to put in this book,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I don't know what it is, but I haven't lived it yet. So, Lord willing, I will live long enough to finish this book. Otherwise, it'll just be a file on my computer. And so, experienced a
Mhm.
little more life, and I was like, it's time. So, finished it
Yeah.
up and ended up putting it out.
I love the fact that you have that self awareness to know that you weren't ready, and then also that same self awareness lets you know that now I am ready.
Yeah.
It makes it for a beautiful product, and
Yeah.
I think
Thank
it's
you.
fantastic you put it out there. So for our listeners again, the book is called. Give us the title of the book there.
Yeah. Finding Your Edge: How to Unlock Your Talent and Purpose.
And if someone want to grab a copy of their own, where could you send them?
Yeah, you can get that on Amazon. You can get it on Kindle, Audible, and Apple Books. So if you like my voice, I do, the audio version of it. So if you hate my voice, get the ebook or the hardcover.
Go the old school way if you don't like your voice.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Listen, Jeremy, this has been awesome. I really appreciate the insights and you taking the time to be here. Congratulations on the book and all the best. Thank you for being here on the Audacious Learning Podcast.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Audley.
Back we are here on the podcast, and during our conversation with Jeremy, he emphasized the need to eliminate distractions to foster self-discovery. He articulated how so many of us get caught up in the noise of daily life, preventing us from tapping into our true potential. I loved how he compared the process of uncovering our purpose to finding Waldo in a crowded picture. Sometimes all it takes is a little focus and a willingness to explore the hidden corners of our lives to unearth what truly matters. I encourage you to connect with Jeremy directly. You can find more about his work, including his book, Finding Your Edge, on which of course is available on platforms like Amazon, Kindle, and Audible. The contact details are all in the show notes below. And again, I'd encourage you to reach out to him and learn more about what he has to offer. For our listeners, Jeremy is providing a limited discount on his book, Finding Your Edge. So don't miss this opportunity to dive into the transformative strategies for personal growth. I want to take this opportunity to thank our listeners of the Audacious Learning Podcast for being here. If you've enjoyed today's episodes, please take a moment to like, follow, subscribe, and share with your friends. Your support helps us grow and continue to bring inspiring conversations. Until next time, stay audacious, keep striving for the life that you deserve. And by the way, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stephenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.